You cancel plans and feel relief before the guilt even shows up. You walk into a room full of people, and within 30 minutes, something inside you starts to fade. Not dramatically, not in a way anyone else notices. Just a slow drop in energy, like a phone battery slipping from 80% to 20 without warning. And then the strange part happens. You leave, you step outside, or drive home, or sit alone somewhere quiet, and suddenly, your energy comes back. If you've experienced that, you've probably wondered at some point, why does being around people drain me so much? And more importantly, why do some people seem energized by the exact same situations? Psychology actually has a few interesting answers for this, and it turns out people who lose energy around others tend to share several very specific traits. The first trait is heightened social processing. When most people walk into a room, their brains filter out a lot of background information automatically. Conversations blur together. Facial expressions pass by without much analysis. Their minds focus on just a few things at a time. But for certain people, that filter isn't as strong. Their brain is constantly scanning. Tone of voice, micro-expressions, shifts in mood, tiny pauses in conversation. Without even realizing it, they're reading the emotional atmosphere of the entire room. Psychologists sometimes call this high social sensitivity. It means your brain treats social environments like puzzles that need to be solved in real time. You're subconsciously analyzing what people mean, how they feel, whether something you said landed wrong, and what the overall dynamic of the group is. And that kind of processing takes energy, a lot of it. To someone else, a party might feel relaxing. To you, it can feel like running 10 mental programs at once. So after an hour or two, your brain simply runs out of fuel. The second trait is something researchers refer to as deep internal processing. Some people process experiences quickly and move on, but others tend to process everything more deeply. After a conversation, their mind doesn't just stop, it keeps working. They replay things. Did that joke sound awkward? Did that person seem uncomfortable? Was there something I should have said differently? This doesn't necessarily mean overthinking. Sometimes it's simply how the brain organizes social information. Cognitive researchers have found that people who process experiences deeply often store more detailed memories about interactions. Their brain builds a richer internal record of social situations. But the trade-off is that richer processing requires more energy in the moment. So while other people leave a gathering feeling stimulated, your brain feels like it just completed a 2-hour analysis project. The third trait is emotional permeability. Some people can sit in a tense room and barely notice the tension. Others feel it instantly. If two people are arguing across the room, your body might react before your mind even understands why. Your shoulders tighten, your breathing changes. Something about the environment feels heavy. That's because certain nervous systems are extremely responsive to emotional signals. Psychologists often refer to this as emotional contagion. You absorb pieces of other people's moods simply by being around them. If the room is excited, you feel the buzz. If the room is anxious, your nervous system quietly mirrors that anxiety. And when you're absorbing emotional signals from multiple people at once, your body is constantly adjusting its internal state, which again costs energy. The fourth trait is a strong preference for depth over stimulation. A lot of social environments are built around rapid interactions, small talk, quick jokes, conversations that jump from topic to topic. For people who thrive in those settings, that speed feels energizing. But some brains prefer a different rhythm. They want conversations that slow down, that go somewhere meaningful, that explore ideas, stories, or experiences in depth. When conversations stay on the surface for too long, it can actually become mentally tiring. Not because you're antisocial, but because your brain keeps searching for a deeper connection that never quite happens. So the entire interaction starts to feel like effort without reward. The fifth trait is something psychologists sometimes describe as self-regulation fatigue. In social settings, we're constantly adjusting ourselves, monitoring how loud we're speaking, choosing the right words, timing when to talk and when to listen. For some people, these adjustments happen almost automatically. For others, it takes more conscious effort. They're constantly making small behavioral corrections to stay socially aligned with the group. That invisible self-management drains mental energy over time. And the more people involved, the more variables the brain has to track. So what looks like someone quietly withdrawing from the group isn't necessarily social discomfort. Sometimes it's simply cognitive exhaustion. But here's the interesting part. People who lose energy around others often have strengths that aren't immediately obvious in fast-paced social environments. They tend to be excellent observers. They notice things others miss. They build very deep relationships with a small number of people instead of spreading their attention across dozens of connections. And when someone they care about truly needs help, they're often the first to show up, not with loud gestures or big speeches, but with quiet presence and real attention. Their energy isn't built for constant interaction, it's built for meaningful connection, which is why many of them feel most alive in smaller conversations, a long talk with a close friend, a quiet dinner where stories unfold slowly, a shared moment where nobody feels the need to perform. In those environments, something interesting happens. Their energy doesn't disappear, it grows, because the issue was never people themselves. It was the speed, the noise, and the constant stimulation that came with them. Some minds simply aren't designed for that kind of environment. They're designed for something slower, more intentional, more real. And once you understand that, the feeling of being drained around others starts to make a lot more sense. It was never a flaw in your personality. It was just the way your brain learned to navigate the world. Subscribe for more psychology deep dives.